Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts. Today is Moda Monday. At least that's when this video is going to be released, on a Monday. And we're working on Moda Blockheads 5 Group 2. The one we're working on today is Shooting Stars. I think it's a fairly straightforward piecing. I haven't actually read all the way through it because I am being kind of confident that just by looking at it, that it's not going to be too difficult. And because of that, I think we should just do it as a 6-inch block. And since we're going to be cutting into brand new Camille Roskelley's Shoreline fabrics, I want to do that sparingly at first until I get a real good feel for how these fabrics are going to work with these fabrics. So I'm going to tread lightly into the fabric when we start cutting, and so we'll make a 6-inch block. Also, since I have the brother in novice, new to my studio, and I haven't really done a lot of piecing with it yet, or hardly any, I think it's going to make it easier to do small pieces. It seems to sew straight much easier than the Singer heavy duty. So there are several pieces to cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 9 different types of units to cut. You can see that there, 9, and then one of them, the 1-inch squares, you have to have 16 of those. So, that's not the end of the world, but it will take a little bit of time to do all the cutting, so I need to get started. But the first thing we need to do is get into this Camille Roskelley's Shoreline fabric. And while we're looking at them, we're going to go through them one by one. We need to be evaluating how we're going to view the fabrics as far as how they relate to these and how they relate to this pattern. See, we have a light and a dark here that are in the same hue pretty much, but one's a little bit darker value than the other, but still pretty close. And then these two stripes, these stripes versus these stripes, those are different. Those could be in the same hue, but a little bit different value. Clearly much lighter than what the stars are, so they still stand out. And then if I want to continue to use, let me use my trusty pointer. If we want to continue to use this as our background fabric, or one of the Camille Roskelley's lookalikes, if you will, should I go ahead and transition over to that in this block, or continue to use this and blend the two? My instinct tells me to go ahead and move over to the Camille Roskelley. And again, that's why we're doing a 6-inch block, so that if I am making a mistake, it's only the material for a 6-inch block that's being, quote unquote, wasted. It's not going to be wasted because it would still be a beautiful thing, and we just might use it otherwise. But I think we're going to love it. I don't know that you can put anything together with this kind of fabric and it not be pretty. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the fabrics, consider our color choices while we're doing it, and then color it up, then start cutting and piecing. You just don't know how hard it's been to put off opening these fabrics so I could wait to do it on camera with you guys. They were so pretty. And it helped that Asher was here, and that I was very distracted and had plenty to do while he was here. But now we're going to get into it. Come on down, take a look. As we look through these, I want to keep in mind that we do have natural sunlight involved in our colors. We do have a studio light that has a blue light, and then we have another light, studio light, that has a really warm light. So we've got a blend of things going on here. It is an overcast day, so our light is a little bit more white than it would be normally when it was a full sunny day. So that will help a little bit, probably counteract this yellow light that's behind me. I probably need to change out the bulb in that to something that's not yellow. But sometimes I like it because it counters all the blueness in the other ones. Oh my gosh, these are so pretty. Isn't that just pretty? It's hard to open it. You just want to set it somewhere and, salivate over it and pet it as you pass by it. So pretty. This little ribbon, I think it's going to have to get repurposed somehow. That's really sweet. I've seen a quilt recently somewhere, and I think it was one of the ones that was at QuiltCon. It was all salvages. Speaking of quilt shows, if you didn't see my video that was released today, and you have any desire to see some beautiful quilts, then go and take a look. It featured, I believe it was 6 of the 9 special awards in Huntsville's quilt show this past weekend, or this weekend, and it was called Fanfare 2024 Quilt Show. They do it every 2 years, so there'll be another one. I highly recommend you putting it on your radar to come to Huntsville to the next one. Oh my gosh, aren't those just pretty? And I love adding a graphic into the sweet florals. And speaking of sweet florals, look at that. And then we have dots. Oh, goodness gracious me. Oh, we have another set of florals, but a little bit more dense. Okay. All right. And I'm sure that's probably a deep navy, but it reads like it could be a black. But I bet if you put it up against a black, you would see pretty quickly that it's a blue-black. Now see, these are the ones that I've been eyeing, that I think might be a good background choice to the one I've been using in the quilt already. I'm gonna kind of leave these out from the rest of those so I can spot them quickly. Oh, 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 so pretty. So pretty. Look at that. Oh, so lovely. I'll tell you, one of the things that just kind of was haunting me about going to the quilt show was just about how it was, number one, let me take you off of these fabrics for a second while I describe what I was thinking. Hang on. I wanted to finish this thought and not get ahead of ourselves on looking at all the fabrics, because I really want to take in what we're looking at regarding these fabrics. But one of the things that's been haunting me a little bit, just a little bit, enough to where I wanted to contemplate and fully process the thought. But number one, I was fully pleased to see the amount of talent that was displayed in those 250 quilts that were there. I don't know the parameters of the quilt show, if it's only local people, and what local means. Does it mean Southeast, or does it mean Huntsville, Alabama specific, and limiting to Huntsville, Alabama? I don't know. I need to look those kind of things up. But there was an extraordinary amount of skill and talent displayed in those quilts. I failed to place my vote for the People's Choice, and I really should have done that. So there's one in particular that did not get a ribbon that I think I would have voted for if I had remembered to do it. So I will show that one at the end of this video so you can see it. And the reason why it is, and this is not what I was about to tell you, but the reason why that particular quilt is one that I like a lot is because I've been contemplating doing one that is a sister to what is its inspiration. That'll make more sense at the end when we get to looking at that quilt. But for right now, let me get back to this conversation. It was kind of haunting me about just how beautiful the quilts were, how well executed they were, and the amount of perfectionism that went into them. People are just spending their talents and their time and making some exquisite work. And you start to feel very humble, and especially being a newbie like myself. It's one thing to sit here in my studio and be humble with you guys about, hey, this is where I am. I know I'm just learning. I know I'm a newbie. But whenever I am just engulfed and physically engulfed with, I don't mean to sound overly dramatic, but with the majesty of people's creativity and skills and their, what's the word, but and their endurance to take something from a concept to completion at that level. I have so much respect for that, so much respect for that. And, so I think, gosh, do I have that in me? On one hand, it's like, it's okay if I don't have a show quilt or show quilts in me. But there is a person inside of me who does like precision, I'm not competitive. Um, I'm really not. Like, I can let them be the queen bees and king bees all day long, and I can just be a little drone bee as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I'm not competitive in that sense. I'm competitive against myself. And so I'm thinking, how can I be better? I'm always pushing myself to figure out, and that's why this channel makes sense. I'm always pushing myself to see what I can learn next. What can I do next? How can I make something better? And these individuals have clearly been doing, quilting for more than a minute or two and are executing on a very high level and applying a lot more experience than I could gather in the next 5 years. That doesn't mean that I couldn't get to a point where I could produce something. I don't know. I don't know. But that's the point I'm trying to get to, is that it's really easy to feel humbled when you're engulfed in um, works of art and works of art and products of someone's precision skills. Because it's not all necessarily all works of art in the sense that it's not born out of their own creativity. It's just like this quilt that we're making now. It's not born out of my own creativity. I'm putting my spin on it, and that is artistic, and it will be beautiful, and it will be a practical quilt. But I really see the quilts as art more so if someone is completely creating it out of scratch. That's beside the point. And, we can define what an art quilt is or isn't all day long. There's a lot of nuances to that. And I'm not taking away from anybody who is making beautiful pieces and putting them on the wall. It is still art. It's just a different level of being an artist than if you're completely taking a brand new concept and creating it all from scratch. That's, being able to compose and see that long-term vision. That's just incredible to me. And so I have a high respect for that because I think that's a real weakness for me. It's a skill that I want to hone. Anyway, back to my point yet again. My point was that it's easy to be engulfed in all that and feel so humble to the point where you say, I will never, so why am I even trying? And I didn't let myself go there because I knew not to, because, I'm not 18, I'm 58, and that's fine that I knew that logically, but that thought kept on coming back to me. It's like, oh gosh, Dawn, you've got some people in your community here who are just exceptional. And they're going to be looking at you coming into their world like, what does that kid think she's doing? She's got a YouTube, she's got a YouTube channel. Like she thinks she's something. And it's like, I don't think I'm something. That's just why I'm doing this. So it encourages me as you guys are my accountability partner so that I can continue to grow. But I want to get better and I do want to grow. So I told myself every time any of those thoughts try to come up, try to bubble up, but no, don't do that. You're doing fine, Dawn, and you don't have to be as good as any of those people for what you're doing to have validity. So if all I'm doing is creating quilts that the people I love enjoy and they know, and that, and it's a tangible thing so that once I'm gone, they will know, or whoever gets that quilt from them when they pass knows that these people cared about each other. These people loved each other. And so this product, this warm, cozy, loving piece of art was created as an example and as a byproduct of their relationship. That's a legacy that I'm here for all day long. Okay, so with that aside, then this morning I watched the quilt show because this is Sunday for me. I watched the quilt shows. I think it was the one they released last weekend, and I didn't catch it last weekend. I don't know why I didn't catch it last weekend. Maybe I was just too busy. I don't know why, but I didn't catch it last weekend. And it was, and I'll put the name of the lady on the screen. It's a last name that's got more than one or two syllables in it, I believe. And I would butcher it if I tried to do it right here. But she was a Jewish lady who was demonstrating a lot of her faith in her work. The reason I bring her up, though, is not because of that and that side of her creative journey. What I'm talking about, though, is the creativity that she put into the making of her buildings. This, it's like she's turning her applique as she's piecing it. And that was really creative. And it just unleashed a whole new world for her of production and what she could create. And I thought, you know what? She wasn't listening and watching what others were doing and saying, well, I should give up. No, she was just being creative and enjoying the process. So that's why, with all of that said, that's all I wanted to say. Be creative, enjoy the process. What comes out of it will come out of it. But we're here for the process. As much as we're here for the results, we're here for the process. So I hope you're enjoying yours today. And I'll get back on topic now. These are quite lovely. One of the things we talked about was how we've got the same hue here in two different values, but they're both deeply saturated. Okay. And then same thing with here and these. Okay. So, but this and this match inside, as they have it demonstrated here, this star matches that star. You could get creative and you could make the stars kind of bland, but we're not doing all that today. So I need to think about two deeply saturated fabrics from this line as we're pulling them out that would look good together as a star, and then two lighter ones. But also I need to identify the one I'm going to use as the background that really makes the background really busy, because that's what I'm doing with this quilt, is really busy. Unless I want to do another one that's got a white background so I can make that one star that we have up there, that very first one we did that has some white background, make more sense inside the quilt. I think I'll look at that again. So we've got some decisions to make. Let's get after it. So, we've already passed the dark fabric, so let's go back to that for a minute. If we wanted to use these as our star, this is the same value here, but it's going to read a little bit lighter because it's more densely packed with the lighter flowers. That's one thought. And then there's this thought. Okay, but it's still so similar in value. You could go with that. Your backgrounds are the same, but this is a white on that background. This is a blue on that background. Here we go. Here we go. This might make sense. Okay. But actually what I think might make sense is if our stars are made out of the same fabric, same design, just in a light and dark. So what I think, like, this is not as saturated, so it's different than what we're kind of seeing in the shading of, again, show that to you. It's upside down, I know, but you get a feel. So if we use these, I think it would really make sense because the design is exactly the same. Okay, so if we use that, let's keep that in mind, and then we'd be looking for a much lighter fabric here, and then a step down from that is here, and both of those have to contrast a good bit with a background. Why don't we try to identify the background first? So something that's going to be similar to the one we had. This one we had is a white background with some blue flowers on it. So this one could work. Okay. Then kind of offset that one so we can identify it. This one might work but it has a lot more green than the blue, but it's pretty, and that could be pretty in the quilt to include more green. Yeah, I really think this is the one that on the screen that I was identifying as a good background, similar to the one that we have, but it's a much bigger print. So I don't know how that's going to work out. So maybe I could go back and forth, like on the smaller blocks, use this one as the background. On the bigger blocks, use that as the background. So you get some variation in scale. I need to hold this up to the fabric that we're currently using. Let me get that. This is what we've been using, and it's much more teal than either of these, but it still blends quite nicely, doesn't it? It's kind of like if this is a tinier scale print, it's a larger scale print. This is more medium, still on the smaller side, but more densely packed than that. So now we get to question, do we like the idea of our quilt having a variety of backgrounds? I kind of do. I kind of do. I've always wanted to do that, so now's a good time to do that. Okay, so I do like what we just decided, that this, on our smaller blocks, this is our background. So I'm going to open this up a little bit. So this is the ones we just identified to be the center of our stars, basically. And then this is our background. So then we would need to be trying to, as we go through this, identify a hue that we want radiating out from that. And now this was the medium, a much lighter, and then even lighter. So this one's going to be so similar to that. If we work off of just this shading right here, which I'm, kind of want to experiment with. Okay, let's finish just glancing over all these fabrics really quickly. Look at these blues. I love this line. Okay. Look at how sweet that one is. Oh, I think this one totally escaped me that it was part of the pack. I don't know how well you can tell that, but there's little white dots on that cream. Lovely. Okay, this is that blend that we looked at earlier. There's got a lot more green in it. See, we could introduce green. Okay, that's the same print as that we're considering using as the background. We could introduce a green radiating out from our stars. But we would need a much lighter version of that. We could do that with these two, because this reads lighter than that. But I think we need a little bit more contrast in that if we were to go that route. Isn't that pretty? I don't know about using an opposing color. This is lighter. I think the scale on that would be off to use as stripes, especially on a small 6-inch. Okay, that's not bad. This is lighter, but not significantly lighter than that one. So sweet. Love this line. Does everything, I need to look at Camille's history and see what else she's done, because these are just gorgeous. Okay, here we go. This is something we could do. Yeah, let me look at, oh, yeah. So we could do our radiating lines. These are what we're called shooting stars. Our star trail for this one could be this. It's basically the same print as that, right? And that, again, might make sense. But if I'm doing it on a 6-inch block, is that really going to make sense? Wondering if there's an even lighter one. Would it make sense on this star trail, since it's going to be the same pattern, for this star to have a star trail that is not the same pattern? Don't know. I think it'll probably be fine. Let's look at the rest of these really quickly. Aren't they all just so pretty? Yeah, what does this say? Oh, it's just the numbers of each of them. It's an AB bundle. What does AB mean? It's fat quarter, but I don't know what AB means. Interesting. I should probably keep that. I'm not good at documenting things, and I am at other things, but I have not been about quilts. I don't know why. Like, have you found a need for you to document your quilts really well? What am I missing out on? Yeah, I kind of like using this with this, and this with this background. Why don't I isolate just these things and get a better view of it? Take everything else away, stack them up, and we'll just take a look. Okay, let's open this up so we can see it behind the other fabrics. Okay, so if we have a star here with a star trail like that, and a star here with a star trail like that, okay, of course, our block would end, actually it would be more like these would be butted up against each other. It's a little bit of relief. Okay. Show just a little bit of that. There's none of this showing over here on this block. We would have this on the end and this on the end, and just a little bit of this right up here and a little bit of it right here. Otherwise, the only place you see this is where you're making your star points and right in the middle. So let's just show that much of the background. Okay, I'm not so sure I like this because it has no blue in it. So is there one with this taupey gray? Maybe it's this one I don't like. Maybe I do like this one, and I need a darker taupe that reads mostly taupe and does not have green in it. That would work. Those are too similar. What I like about this is that these two, being the stars, are the same print, and these two trails would be the same print, and they fit the criteria of being in similar hue. This one's just much more saturated, of course, and this is, obviously much lighter, but it's the same pattern, it's just a little dot. But this is just too close to that, I think. I mean, there is a little difference, I believe. This has a little bit more cream in it. It really, truly is a little bit more of this gray that's just been diluted. Okay. I do like it, though. I like the idea that they're, if these matches, these match, and then this is our busyness, our background. Okay, so if I want to stay away from introducing any green into this, number one, why do I want to do that? Then these are our only grays that would work, and I don't like the stripe for the scale that we're doing. Now this tone on tone, White, actually white on cream. Could go with that. It's quite lovely. Is there another one of these? Another dot. Like if we used that dot and these dots, is this too similar? Because these actually will come pretty close to touching. Like there's points of the star that would touch that. Yeah, I don't care for that. That works, but there's something about it that seems boring. I might just need to trust. I think I just need to trust the logic and then see how it plays out. That's so pretty. I could just go with a lot of color though, right? Like this could be the trail for that. I'm gonna set that aside so I don't lose track of it. And that's the trail for that one. Oh, that's not too bad. Definitely a blue block then. Very blue. It looks too matchy-matchy. That's what I don't like about that. It would work, but I don't like how matchy-matchy it is. All right, I could do this, and then I could do that. I think I like that. Do I like it better than that? I'm going to get you guys a really good view. Okay, I think I made a decision. I'm going to go with the option that has these two as the trails. I just kind of like how there's more contrast, and how I just kind of like how there's more contrast, and I feel like this kind of keeps it busier, which is going to work with how busy the existing pieces are, existing blocks are. So now that we've got our fabric, now that we have our fabrics picked out, let's get to cutting. Now the next question is, do I want to cut from my fat quarters, or do I want to cut from my layer cake, which this is the first quality layer cake I've ever owned. I've bought some 10-inch squares from Walmart, but you know, it's a cheap package, and you know, Walmart fabric. So I don't know why I feel like the layer cake and the shoreline fabrics need to be preserved for something special. Maybe I do a perfect 10 quilt with them, or something else if I don't need to break into the layer cakes. If I don't need to break into that layer cake fabric, I'm not going to just yet. And I could use that same logic with the dolly bar, right? So the dolly bar is, I believe it was, is it 5 inches by 10 inches? The dimensions are not on here. Hang on, let me see. It's a 5 by 10. So now I need to look at my measurements and see if I can get everything I need out of a 5 by 10. Yeah, the longest thing is a 1 inch by 3.5 and a 1.5 by 4.5. So I can definitely do that. I think I'll keep my fat quarters intact for right now and just use my jolly bar. Oop, oop. I just put things back in. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to take this, set it on the cutting table while I open up more of the jolly bar. So I have a question for you. What I was discussing earlier about, so I guess that is a picture of Miss Camille Roskelley, beautiful young woman, and clearly very talented. I got to go and find a history of her body of work somewhere so I can figure out if I should, like, since I love this fabric line, like, should I target her or follow her somewhere, or is there somewhere to follow her to see if, I guess Moda, since this is a Moda, probably Moda Fabrics, I'll have to take a look and see what options they offer for following one specific designer, so I find out when she's releasing new things. Okay, this is my same fabrics, just in a 5x10, the pre-cuts. Oh, y'all, it just feels wonderful. I could just sit here and pet it. You may think I'm being absurd, but dramatic for the sake of a video, but I'm not. It feels wonderful. I may use some flowery speech when I'm describing things, but I don't say them if I don't mean them, because I can be very blunt too. Okay, back to my question I was asking. What I was saying earlier about when you're engulfed in all these wonderful displays of other people's expertise and talents, like at a quilt show, how does it make you feel? Do you feel superior, though some of you might? Do you feel inferior? Do you feel like your efforts are wasted and there's no sense for you to, go back and just bundle everything up and sell it at a thrift store, or give it away to a thrift store or sell it in a yard sale, or do you feel empowered to go and dive in deeper? Because I think clearly it was my insecurities that were trying to bubble up, because I'm new, I'm young at this, and that's why I think it's really important for this whole discussion right now is making me realize that it's really important for us to kind of, and that's this quilting community is really good at it, but it's really important for us to circle around the newbies, embrace them, encourage them, and make them feel empowered, because this is a wonderful therapeutic hobby. It really is. It may be an expensive one at times, but there are ways to not be so expensive. But it can be intimidating to get into this community, even if you come into it with some skills, or some talents from some other arena of, your artistic pursuits have been elsewhere. There's still a lot to learn and a lot of nuances to learn. It can be intimidating. So we need to, circle around them, circle around the young ones, the new ones, because you can have new ones that are in their 70s and 80s too. That's my philosophizing for the day. I won't belabor that. Now, I am reading about a jolly bar. A jolly bar is a collection of 42 5x10 rectangles, and they're exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. After a 14-year collaboration with her mother as part of the Bonnie and Camille team, Camille Roskelley is now designing on her own. Her latest collections combine her love of summer holidays with the signature B and C style. What does that mean? Since 2007, she has also designed and published quilt patterns for her own company, Thimble Blossoms. Well, there you go. That answers my question. Oh, she's got a little quilt pattern in here. Oh, see? This is reason to hold on to these. I may have to get more just so I can make one of her quilts out for myself. Oh yeah, it is. So this is Low Tide is the pattern, and it's a 64x80. So it's got the fabric requirements and cutting requirements, the quilt blocks, just a lot of half square triangles. And then you get that. Okay, I need to hang on to that. All right, let's get to cutting before my day gets wasted away. Okay, I want to explain how I thought this through. So first, I just kind of wrote down what my acronyms are for my fabrics. And then I looked at the diagram. And in each of the blocks, I wrote down what fabric's going to be used in those blocks. And so when I'm done with that, I notice, okay, so there's 3 different units that will be made from the background. can I get everything out? Can I get all of what's needed for those 3 units out of a Jolly bar, which is 5 by 10? So it's like, okay, this one is 16 1-inch squares. Okay. And then it also, the other one was that is the 16-inch ones. Okay. So for this one is 2 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles. So that's 3 by 3.5. So I put that here. And I guess I started with this one, which is a 1.5 inch square with 4 of those. So that's basically a 3 by 3 square. So a 3-inch square, a 3 by 3.5. So that left me with 3.5 inches this way and 5 inches that way, and then all of this over here. And so yes, that would give me 15 1-inch squares to be gotten out of that section. And then I just need one more 1-inch square out of that remaining. So this area right here is going to be my leftover, my scrap. Some people call that scrap. I call that yardage because I keep it all and I'll figure out how to turn it into something. I feel comfortable that I can cut into my Jolly bar. I don't have to cut into anything else, and I can get going. And with that, I will do exactly that. I will get going. I am going to cut just here on the left of my ironing board, since I'm already set up with the lights and everything. I need to figure out what to do with this pattern that kind of randomly came in to my studio. Okay, so let's start with the one that we've got to do the most cutting on. And that was our background fabric. The background is the one I have to be a little persnickety on how I cut it. 3 inches over by 6.5 tall, which is exactly what this ruler is, so that's good. So one of those ended up needing a 3 by 3, right? All right, so that's a 3 by 3. The other one was a 3 by 3.5. So I can cut out this ruler's over to the 3-inch mark, and I will have what is needed. I think it will help if I line this up on the lines. For some reason it looked like it was going askew. You never know if they're measuring from the valley of that edge or the peak of the peaking. I think it's the peak. Okay. 3. Okay, see if I can hold this on my own like a big girl. When I don't use weights, I try to cut gingerly so I don't move my ruler. Okay. All right. So we need 3 inches on this first one. This is the only one I'm going to walk you through just so you can watch me not mess up. Haha. You're my accountability partner anyway, right? Okay. So this would be I. This gets turned, so it's cut in half again because we're doing 1.5 by 1.5 by 1.5 by 1.5. Did you guys enjoy seeing the quilts that I put on yesterday's video? Those 6 special awards. I was looking at the analytics for that video, and I don't know if it's just because it was a Sunday morning and people were otherwise busy, but it wasn't getting the views it normally gets. So I thought maybe y'all weren't interested. If you're not interested, I don't want to do it. Okay, so these are 4 1.5 inch squares, which is all we need for I. That's done. Okay. And then this should be a 3 by 3.5. And it still is. Good. It didn't shift on me. So I need to cut this 1.5 by 3.5. One and a half. It's 3.5. 2 rectangles at 1.5 by 3.5. Now, why do I need rectangles? C. Oh, because it goes in the middle, there and there. Keep on forgetting that I'm making a 6-inch block. Okay, so now we need to make 1-inch cuts. Get 15 out of this, because that's 5 inches by 3.5. And then we can get 1 out of here. Easy peasy. It pays to think ahead on how you're going to be cutting. Why does that not look like it's a whole inch? But that is an inch. I have a little bit of unevenness on this board, the tabletop underneath me. It's throwing me off a little bit, making me rock, making my mat rock. It's not completely level. 1. Okay, I have 3 1-inch squares, 6 1-inch squares, 9 1-inch squares. How does Kimberly Jolly create these blocks and talk and do it so quickly? I don't understand, and with such accuracy. Okay, I had 3, 6, 9. Now I got 12. I will have 15 here in just a heartbeat. Okay, 15. That's all the scrap we got out of that section. That's not too bad. Okay, now we need to cut a 1-inch block right here. 16. All right. All the scrap. And that. This is, of course, waste. Could be a leader ender, but it's waste. Okay, not too bad. All right, what do we want to, blue dot on white. What do we want to do next? Let's start with A, blue dot on white. We need 2 1.5 by 4.5 rectangles. 1.5 by 4.5. Okay, so that would be 3 inches. Okay, this is my 4.5-inch square ruler, and it's probably going to come in handy right now, since what I'm cutting is a 4.5, 1.5 by 4.5. So this is my 4.5. I got to do 2 1.5s. That's 3. So I cut this away, and then I cut it in half. It's like I'm living on the wild side, not using a weight on my ruler. Okay, A is done. So we have all of this left out of that Jolly bar. Okay, B is a white dot on taupe. And same thing, we're doing 3 by 4.5 and then cutting it in half. Okay, again, that's what we have left. Right, we did the C, did we already? Yep. And we did D, now we do E, which is our medium blue. And we have 4 1 by 1.5s. Okay, I had to turn off the camera so my brain would work. I need to go over 2 and up 3 to get a 2x3 rectangle that I will cut in half 4 ways. Well, both ways to get 4 different units. No one's brain, at least most people's brains, don't work while cameras are running, unless you've been to school for journalism, and then it's not even a given. Okay. All right. So that was my 2. So I cut off and go in the middle here. Oops. And this is 1.5. So I have 4 that are 1 by 1.5. Probably end up making the same cuts. Yes, the dark blue is the same thing. But I think, yeah, I'm not done with the medium blue. Medium blue also has to have on H. So I have to have 1 by 3.5 twice. How much do I have left here? That's 3. So I'm following the right one. So if I go over 2 and up 3.5. Yes. Over 2 and up by 3.5. Cut it in half, and then I'll have 1 by 3.5. That is accurate. Every time I think about it, I get the same answer, so surely it's right. Okay, that's what we have left of our medium blue. Now I'm going to do the same thing for our dark blue, and then we're done cutting. We get to start assembling. Okay, so what did I just do? I did a 2 by 3. It worked out last time. Let's do it again. Right. And the next one is G, and that was 2 by 3.5. I probably need to put something under this so it doesn't rock. Anyway, I do use the hashtag learn with me. Like, I'm trying to be full disclosure and trying to make sure people don't think that I am doing this channel because I think I've got something to teach. I don't have the experience to teach. I can show you some things that I've learned. I guess, like cleaning the sewing machine, things like that, cleaning the iron, how to pin, some really basic things. But I think if I use the hashtag of beginner quilter consistently, that would probably be even more helpful. G, 1 by 3.5 is 2. So this is complete. And it's this one that needed to be subcut. F, 1 by 1.5. Okay, I think we're all done. Okay, I'm back here at the Brother, and it's been a few days since I've touched it, and I'm thinking, what do? I don't even know how to use it again. Am I getting old, or is it just a matter of muscle memory? Really does take practice. I think we're going to go with that option. And this concludes part 1. Beginning with part 2, we will begin the construction of the block. As promised, here are pictures of the quilt that really stood out to me. I'm reading the description now, and it is actually a panel quilt. I didn't realize that. I thought it was constructed, but I still like it. It's by Jean Clement. I'll put her name up for you. I had been searching for a panel to do a One Block Wonder panel quilt. When I found Klemt's The Kiss, I knew I had finally found it. Design source One Block Wonder panel quilts by Maxine Rosenthal and Nancy Miller. It is quilted on a track machine. I'm inspired to make a quilt based off of some of Klemt's work, so that's why this piece really stood out to me. I don't know when I'll get to prioritize that quilt. It may just have to live in my head for a little while longer. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. It was long on purpose. I wanted to make sure that anybody who's a beginner, who is looking at these one block a month or block a week programs, understands that it does take a process. Each step has to be thought through. That way no one else is going to feel so overwhelmed that they give up if they see that somebody else is taking their time and processing through the steps too. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.